In the heart of South Africa's wilderness, a man stumbled upon a frail, aging lion, once a proud leader, now abandoned by his pack and barely clinging to life. Driven by compassion, he stepped in to save the fallen king. But what happened next would leave everyone utterly stunned. At the far edge of Kruger National Park in South Africa, an old male lion moved silently across the parched grasslands. Once the proud and majestic leader of a powerful pride, he had guided his lions through countless hunting seasons. Time and countless battles had drained him of his former strength. His once glorious golden brown mane had grown thin, angled, and dull. Sunken eyes reflected his weariness, and nearly all his once sharp teeth were gone. Only a few remained. His ribs jutted out beneath his rough, thinning skin, some areas beginning to ulcerate. Each step grew heavier, unsteady in the scorching heat and brittle grass. No longer strong enough to hunt, the old lion had been cast out by younger, fitter members of the pride, left to wander alone. For days he had trudged across the land he once ruled, occasionally letting out faint roars that were met with silence. Weary and parched, he searched shallow pools for even the smallest trace of water. Time and again, he had attempted to stalk antelope, but his weakened jaws could no longer deliver a killing bite. The scars that covered his body once spoke of victories. Now they served as fading reminders of nature's harsh law of survival. Tourists had spotted his frail form roaming alone in the distance, and a few photos eventually made their way to the park rangers. Upon hearing the news, two South African staff members named Duma and Asa discussed it thoroughly. They determined the location of the lion's recent appearance, then prepared to set off. They brought along medical supplies, a tranquilizer gun, and some fresh meat. Kruger National Park was vast, so it took them a long time to track down the lion. Both of them knew the danger of approaching a wild lion. However, the sight of the exhausted old lion made them unable to ignore it. The South African sun was scorching, and soon their shirts were soaked with sweat. Asa carefully observed each of the lion's footprints on the dry sand. Duma slowly looked around, searching for the figure of the former ruler. Finally, through the sparse trees, they saw the lion sitting on the ground, head down. It was gasping for breath, eyes half closed, body trembling from exhaustion. The two staff stopped a few dozen meters away to observe. Duma raised the tranquilizer gun, ready in case the lion suddenly became aggressive. But its appearance, too exhausted to fight back, made Duma hesitate. Asa put his hand on his friend's shoulder and said softly, "It's too weak. Let's try another approach." Without hesitation, they decided to approach slowly, avoiding causing panic. The lion squinted slightly when it saw the approaching figures but did not move. Asa began to call softly, maintaining a gentle voice to let the animal get used to it. Duma slowly approached, holding a piece of bright red meat in his hand. The lion snorted, seeming hesitant, but the smell of the meat stimulated its survival instinct. It tried to stretch its neck, open its mouth, and bite the piece of meat with the little strength it had left. Seeing that it was willing to eat, Asa and Duma knew they had a chance to get closer. While the lion was chewing, Duma gently injected it with a health-supporting drug. The drug seemed to help it stay awake a little longer. Hunger flared up strongly. It swallowed the meat as if it had not eaten for a month. Duma stepped back a bit, letting the animal freely eat the remaining meat. Asa stood by, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. The lion gradually showed trust, not as aggressive as its fellows usually were. After eating, it raised its head, panted, and looked at the two men as if grateful. Asa gave the animal some more water so that it could quench its thirst. After about 10 minutes of getting acquainted, the two staff decided to start the plan to move it. They brought the specialized iron cage from the car, placing it a few meters away from the lion. Normally, they would shoot tranquilizers to ensure safety, but this time they wanted to test its instincts. Duma slowly approached, carefully handing the meat for the lion to follow. It slowly stood up, trembling and staggering, its strength exhausted. Each step seemed to be a terrible effort for the old animal. When it was close to the cage, it turned its head to look at Duma for a moment, as if waiting for a command. Duma gently stroked the lion's head as if to reassure it. Suddenly, it tried to crawl into the cage, causing the two staff to breathe a sigh of relief. Azza immediately closed the cage door, carefully checking the latch. The two looked at each other, smiling when they saw that the mission had been initially successful. The lion lay flat in the cage, panting, no longer having the strength to struggle. They quickly loaded the cage onto the truck, preparing to leave the arid grasslands. The short but careful journey towards the National Park Management Facility began. On the way, they drove slowly, limiting the bumps so the lion would not be hurt. The net covering the outside of the cage was also carefully adjusted to avoid the harsh sunlight. Many tourists were curious and surprised to see the image of the car carrying an old lion. Azza quietly explained that they were saving it from dying. When approaching the facility gate, other staff had prepared the emergency care area. The lion was taken down and placed in a separate cage lined with straw and covered. The vets immediately examined it and determined its physical condition. They confirmed that it was severely malnourished and had many skin wounds that needed to be treated. The veterinary team administered antibiotics, dressed its wounds, and provided pain relief. A closer examination revealed that nearly all of the lion's teeth were no longer functional. Duma and Azza stood nearby, hearts heavy at the sight, but they found solace in knowing they had given the lion one final chance at comfort and dignity. At Kruger National Park's Wounded Animal Care Area, the lion was given its own quiet space to rest. Each morning, the staff changed its bandages and checked for signs of infection. By midday, it was fed minced meat or soft prepared food. No longer burdened by the need to hunt or flee from predators, the lion only had to focus on one thing: using its remaining strength to heal and live out the rest of its days in peace. Over the weeks, the lion gradually began to gain weight, and its fur grew a bit smoother. Though it would never return to its former glory, it now had something just as important: safety and care. Duma often sat beside the enclosure, quietly watching and speaking to it, while Azza managed its meals, ensuring it received the proper nutrition and support it needed. At times, the old lion would gaze into the distance, as if longing for the territory it once ruled. Though it would never return to its pride or reclaim its title as king of the grasslands, the sting of abandonment was eased by human compassion. In the care of Duma and Azza, the lion slowly grew accustomed to their presence, no longer afraid. Occasionally, it would nuzzle their hands, a delicate sign of trust. Life in the wild may be unforgiving, but even there, kindness can spark a quiet miracle. And so, in his final days, the old lion found peace, love, and dignity, closing his noble chapter in Kruger National Park. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this story. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss updates from our channel. Thank you.